Hi there, Plant Girl here. Well, just a few short weeks ago I was wishing my tomatoes would start ripening, and well, my wishes came true. So let's check out the tomatoes and have a little nose through the garden this morning and see how things are going. We're into the second week of August, and my Saskatchewan, Canada garden is over halfway through its season, and things are really moving along here. I love August. It's the month full of harvests. There's so much production that happens in a garden here in a short season climate, and it's just exciting, and you always have something to grab out of the garden this time of year. Let's have a look. I have two 4x8 beds that are raised up off the ground about a foot, and down the center of both beds is my tomatoes. So this is my most western bed. The other one's right beside it to the east, and I'm sitting down at the southern exposure, and you're towards the north end. And that's where I thought we'd start today. So this here is a green vernissage tomato, and it's the first year I've grown it. It was just sent as free seed in an order that I made from, I believe, Heritage Harvest Seeds. And I really don't know much about it. I think it's a salad-sized tomato, and it's supposed to stay green. And they're starting to just soften up a little bit. This one's still pretty hard. Some of them, I don't know how well you can see the truss down here, but they're getting a little bit softer. So hopefully in the next week I can get some of these off of here and give them a try. I've already been eating lots of the cherry tomatoes. This is the Sweet 100, and you can see they're hanging quite thick and they're quite delicious. And I like to just snack on them when I'm out in the garden. So good. I almost didn't plant those Sweet 100s this year. I had them in my cold frame last year in pots, and they just didn't have very good flavor. And I just thought, I don't think these are worth it. But growing them here in the ground where they're getting watered more consistently and just getting better conditions, because my cold frame, I kind of keep it tucked out of the way, and those pots, just the ones I had them in last year, just weren't big enough. But they're definitely a much better fruit when you have them in a situation where they're getting everything they need. Next to the Super Sweet 100s, I have some black Krim. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, I think 5 or 6 plants of black Krim, and they're really filling in nicely. So in fact, this one here, let's see if I can just twist it off. It's nice and soft. So the black Krim can be kind of tricky to tell when they're ripe because they do stay almost a greenish color on the shoulders. They turn almost this kind of brownish orange color on the bottom, and they get quite dark. This is quite soft. It might still be just slightly underripe yet, but I'm going to take it in and give it a try today. There's another one right here that's looking really close to ready, but I don't think it's quite there yet. This plant has sent out another side truss, and I've just tied it off to a pepper stake here. And then the main truss is back here, and I've got a beautiful, beautiful tomato hanging there. That's a nice color. That one I'll take today as well. Looking really good. So you could kind of see these tomatoes maybe even better from the other side. But this is the chocolate cherry tomatoes that I was trying this year. Still on a mission to find those perfect chocolate chip cherry tomatoes that I had so many, many years ago. I think they must have been some sort of a currant tomato that was mislabeled. This is just like the chocolate cherry that I see all the time when I've tried different from different companies and slightly different names. It has a nice sweetness, not a lot of acidity, and they grow in these nice trusses, and just that little bit different color than, you know, your classic red tomato. So these are both ripe tomatoes, both very tasty, but definitely different looking. So it's nice to have a variety like that, I think, when you're putting, you know, fresh veggies out on a tray or in a salad or something, or just for eating. It's a little bit more difficult to see these next tomatoes because they haven't really started to turn color yet. These are all the current tomatoes that I'm trying. So I have Ted's Pink Currant, which is this one here. And there's quite a few tomatoes. Oops, I think I just knocked one off. There's quite a few tomatoes on here, but certainly not ripe yet. And then this plant over here is Candyland Red. And you can see, like, it's hanging, it almost looks like grapes hanging there. There's lots more. I don't know how you can see them in the shadows there, but lots more hanging. So we just need those to ripen up. Next to the currant tomatoes, I have this plant, which I was hoping, because it looks like so potato-leaved, that I was really hoping that it was a black trifeli tomato that was mislabeled. But it was labeled as aroma, and I would say it definitely is aroma. Just has not started to ripen yet, but definitely aroma. So I was a little surprised by that, but then I started to look more carefully at the Roma leaves, and I have a Roma plant just in the next bed, so I'm going to turn you around and we'll have a look at those. So I had never really considered the Roma a real potato leaf type tomato plant before. Like, here's some leaves, here's some leaves, here's the leaf off of the other plant that I was just looking at. You see less definition on the sides here than, say, this here. But as they get older, they do seem a little bit more potato leafed. So this is a Roma VF from Mackenzie Seeds, and I'm thinking that I just got one that just has a little bit more of a potato leaf on it than I'm used to. Just happened to be this year, because these, like this, not very potato leafed, but compared to a more standard tomato leaf, oops, I'm ripping it up, but see, much more jagged on the edges there. So I thought that was interesting anyway. But definitely some beautiful aromas coming here. I think I'll take a couple of these. Might wait till tomorrow. These are very nice and red, but they could soften just slightly, and that'll just give them a little bit sweeter taste. We're having lots of heat coming up, so that'll really give us lots of good flavor with them. And it's loaded up pretty good, so I should get lots more off of it. On this side of the bed here, I mostly have paste tomatoes, just like the Roma at the end there. So what I have is some Amish paste, obviously the Roma VF, and I have some Elizabeth, which are a type of Roma tomato as well. And I think it's Elizabeth Roma it's called. It's a paste tomato anyway. And they're all coming along really well. I'll give you a closer look. The Amish paste are getting nice and big like they do. And I have two Elizabeth. One of them has big full trusses tomatoes on it, but they haven't started to ripen yet. And the other one just seems very immature. It's grown quite tall, but it just doesn't seem like a good thick strong stem. Like, it doesn't seem like a mature tomato plant, and it hasn't started to produce at all yet. So I'm not sure if I'll get anything off of that one. The next tomatoes down from the paste tomatoes, I do have a little space of Manitoba bush tomatoes going across the end of this bed, and they've just gone crazy. They're pushing into the plants and pots beside this raised bed, and just really out of control this year. I've never had such gangly, tall, crazy Manitoba tomatoes as I do this year, but they really seem to want to, instead of bush out like they normally do, get really tall and just crazy. So it's an interesting year to see what they're going to do. But they are producing tomatoes, and that's the main thing. I just don't have them staked for how they want to grow, because it's not how they normally grow. But every year is an adventure. Let's have a closer look at these tomatoes. So you can see the romas here. The plant with the ripe romas is facing out to the sun more, so it's just ripening up a little bit faster. You can see through the plant the red there. But then this plant next in is just, they're filled right up. They're just going to take a little bit more time, so just getting that little bit less full sun throughout the day. Nice cobweb there. And here's the Amish paste, a really nice size Amish paste right here. And there's more in through the plant. I don't think you'll be able to see them in there too well, but it's definitely full. There's that Elizabeth that's getting some nice full trusses on it as well. And looking really good. Just again, needs to ripen a bit. It's actually knocking its stake over. Try and turn you a bit so the sun right in your eyes, but hopefully you can see there it has tomatoes on it down there, and I just hope that I get these tomatoes harvested before it breaks the stake, because my tomatoes are really challenging the staking I have this year, which is the same staking I do every year. So, and here's my Manitoba tomatoes. So they're full of tomatoes, but you just see, like, I've just put up all sorts of stakes just trying to hold them in place a little bit. It's been a lot wetter and that combined with our high winds that we get once in a while here, I think has just taken a toll on my tomatoes and their staking system. But this Manitoba tomato has grown up. That's the vine there, but if you can see, like, how much it's just wanting to just grow right out. Like, a Manitoba tomato is usually a more bush tomato. This one's probably grown 5 feet tall. It's just flopped all over, so it doesn't look quite as tall. But and there's more Manitobas over there. So we'll go around the bed and see what I have growing on the other side. So you can see, hopefully here you can tell, like, just how much the wind has been pushing my stakes over. And these tomatoes on this side especially, I had them with kind of a California weave going, and it's just broken stakes and just pushed everything over. It's just a jungle in here, even with all the pruning I do. So over here is another green vernissage tomato. They're just all over because this whole plant is leaned. It's split into 2 main stems, which I let it do. Oh, I can see a sucker in here. And then the whole thing is just coming over on the stake, so they're just kind of leaning all over. But I'm not sure why I got the 2 green vernissage plants in kind of opposite corners of my garden for tomatoes, but that's where they are. And yeah, these again, beautiful striping, still pretty hard, so I don't think they're ready to harvest any yet. And then if you can kind of look behind the peppers here, I have one of my viewers very strongly recommended the Thornburn terracotta. So I have 2 plants of that, and I found it interesting. Some are growing almost like an Amish paste, or what is it, oxheart or whatever, kind of pointy on the bottom, and some are growing flatter, squatter tomatoes. So I'm finding that really interesting. But they're turning color down here. They're starting to blush. Both plants, the lowest tomatoes, are starting to turn color. So I'll get to taste these pretty soon. Just a crazy jungle in here. So these plants over here are my mortgage lifter. Another staking tomato that's just not sticking with the staking system I have in place this year. It's just a crazy year for that, but I'm letting them go. We only have probably like 4 weeks, 5 weeks maybe left of frost free. So hopefully they can hold on for a few more weeks, and I'll get these tomatoes off of here. The mortgage lifters, I mean, they're producing. The mortgage lifters are getting me some nice big tomatoes here. If you can see that one there. There's, I think, 3 plants of mortgage lifters in here, and they're all doing really well, even though some are kind of shaded by the rest. They're all producing. Nothing has changed color yet, but again, they're getting more shade over here, just kind of partly because of how they're growing and because they're, you know, getting mostly morning sun on this side. But they're definitely producing, and I see a lot of mortgage lifter tomatoes in my future, so I'm looking forward to those. What is this? I think this is my third year now, maybe, growing these. They're a really nice slicing tomato, nice big tomato. So yeah, we'll have more to look forward to. A few more Manitobas right kind of directly in front of me here, so I'll just give you a quick look back through this side of the bed, and that'll be the tomatoes. So yeah, here's some more mortgage lifters. So you can see these, sometimes, some years I get them just growing just a little bit bigger, but I mean, just slightly bigger than this is usually about the size they get. You know, a little bigger than a salad tomato, but not a big crazy size slicer. And I really like these Manitoba tomatoes, and they've been a favorite of mine for years. I've a staple in my garden. I've grown every year for probably 20 years now. I really like them, even though they're growing crazy this year. Some more back in there, mingling with the gourds. But here's a closer look at the mortgage lifters, and hopefully you can see in here, even though they're falling over and shading one another, they're still producing a nice amount of tomatoes in there, so be interesting. And then there's those thorn burns again, and the green vernissage. So I managed to get 2 pretty nice black cream tomatoes here, you know, second week of August, and I'm pretty happy with that. Lots more tomatoes yet to come in my garden. I can tell it's just overflowing, and they're going to be turning soon, especially with this heat and sunshine that we're getting in this next week. So I'm really excited about that, and happy to see the tomato season coming. So I'll be enjoying these in a sandwich today, and lots of tomatoes yet to come. I can't wait to have enough to make like a tomato tart and frittatas and all sorts of sauces and delicious great things. So I love tomato season. Put down in the comments down below, what's your favorite type of tomato, and have you been turned to a tomato filled diet, or is your tomato season just starting like mine? Thanks for watching. Bye.